If you're a homesteader or you're wanting to homestead, then this video is going to be very helpful for you, especially as it relates to how to deal with some of the mental strain of homesteading and some of the hidden mental strains that people don't think about before they go into homesteading. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Alec Capel. I have over a decade of experience as a financial advisor, and I am now a student for marriage and family therapy, moving into my eventual licensing in order to help people deal with their mental health issues. If you have mental health issues right now, I highly recommend seeking out a licensed professional. This is not therapy, and I am not a therapist yet, so if you need help, please do contact someone who is licensed. All right, so if you are a homesteader or you're wanting to homestead in the future, there are a few things that you want to be aware of before you homestead or start your homestead or as you're moving through your journey homesteading when it comes to mental health. One of the biggest items of homesteading that people don't consider, especially as it relates to their mental health, is isolation. Isolation is kind of a part of homesteading in general. You're putting yourself out into the country, you're probably moving away from a lot of people, maybe people that you've known, maybe if you've been in the city for a long time, or if you've been homesteading for a long time, you're starting to feel the toll of not having as much social interaction around you. You may think back to the olden days of farmers, and they had big families, lots of kids. Part of that was to help counter the feelings of isolation. They also needed a lot of labor because these farms were difficult to run and kids were essentially obligated labor. But it also helped by having more people around you so you didn't feel so isolated. So isolation is a big issue for homesteading that you want to be aware of, and we'll talk about some strategies to deal with these at the end of the video. The second thing is the financial stress and burden of needing to be able to provide for the items that your homestead cannot produce. We cannot produce most of the time. We cannot produce our own medicines. We cannot produce our own toilet paper. We cannot produce salt. There are things that we still will need to purchase outside of the homestead and pay for, including property taxes or medical emergencies, healthcare, gasoline, transportation. People still have to live in the world, even if you want to separate yourself as much as possible by homesteading or produce as much of your own food and try and be as healthy as you can. There are still things that are going to come up, and some of the increased risks of self-injury or getting sick and being farther away from a quality health care facility, or being able to get to somewhere that can take care of a larger or more severe injury. If you get kicked by an animal or cut yourself, something like that could really put a financial strain on your situation and family. The other thing is burnout. Burnout is a real thing. As you are aware, I am changing from being a financial advisor to being a marriage and family therapist. Part of that was due to burnout. I did not truly enjoy being a financial advisor. It was a lot of good to it, and there was a lot of stuff I did enjoy about it, but it was not what I had a passion for. It's not where my heart was. I wanted something much more fulfilling. And for many people, homesteading is wonderfully fulfilling, but homesteading has a lot of different parts to it. Not everybody's going to find the garden fulfilling. Not everybody's going to find, butchering animals fulfilling. And so these things, having to be done consistently year after year, may end up creating some burnout for you. And that's something that we want to be able to handle, because it's very stressful when you are having to do something that you just don't want to anymore. And finally, there's uncertainty. Uncertainty is a very difficult thing to try and handle because it is uncertain. We don't know if weather is going to ruin a crop harvest, a disease is going to wipe out our animals, an injury is going to put us down for a while. Justin Rhodes, one of the biggest YouTubers for homesteading out there, got sick one year, and it took him a long time to recover. And he's probably going to have to handle that sickness for the rest of his life to some degree, and it's going to limit him. He had no idea that was coming. There is a lot of uncertainty around his health now that has affected the way that his homestead runs and the path that they've taken. Recently, with the hurricane that came through, they lost a lot of their farm and equipment and animals to the flooding that happened. That kind of uncertainty can be very stressful, and honestly, sometimes can lead to temporary or permanent PTSD when it comes to that sort of event happening again. My mother, who lives with me, she's permanently disabled and ill, and because of that, she can't move well. She is terrified of the weather. This is pretty intense, terrified levels that she has when it comes to bad storms coming through. That's something that she didn't think she'd ever really have until she got sick and it started affecting her. We just don't know when those things are going to get to us. And so uncertainty is always something we need to be aware of. But there are some strategies to deal with it. So some of the strategies to deal with these issues are to make sure that we have community in place. Community is going to be able to help us with a lot of these. The isolation, sometimes the financial issues, sometimes the burnout, just because we can outsource the things that we don't like, or we can get help doing them when we don't feel like doing them alone. Again, isolation, financial issues, burnout, uncertainty, all of these things sort of mix into one environment, one system. And so having a good community and having people in your life that can come and help you or, give you assistance when you need someone to talk to, that's going to take care of a lot of these issues. I think the homestead community is actually doing a really good job of this, particularly because of places like YouTube and Facebook where you can connect with other homesteaders in your area. Farmers markets are also a great way to go and connect with other homesteaders. In our area, we actually have a group that helps you learn how to raise bees. And so connecting with those people and going and being involved with a group like that can give you, connections, get you out of the isolated state of being on your farm all the time. If something really, really bad happens, maybe that community would be willing to help you fund some, to relieve some of the financial burden. When the Holler homestead family got into a wreck, their community was able to raise a decent amount of money to help them get a new vehicle. And so maybe starting a YouTube channel, building up some community in order to not feel as isolated and to have some people behind you in case something happens. I think that's incredibly powerful. The other thing is to maintain some self-care practices. You want to be able to make sure that you're physically cared for. Even if you're working hard on a farm, I do believe that some level of weight training is very important. Even Justin Rhodes and his family started doing some weight training to help with his physical ailments and create some more strength for dealing with some of these animals and some of these items on the farm, because being able to lift heavy things is going to prevent you from getting hurt a lot more often than if you didn't do the weight training. Eating healthy, sleeping well. Sleep is our superpower. Please take care of your sleep schedule and sleep in a consistent way, in a way that works for you. Even if it's not a regular time frame, that's fine. If it works for you, as long as it's consistent, most of your healing mentally, physically, happens while you sleep. The other thing is to make sure that if you need professional help, you have that outlined. Do not be afraid to reach out to a licensed therapist and talk to them. It doesn't have to be about big things. You don't have to call them only when you're feeling suicidal, only when you're feeling really depressed. Call them if you have something that you don't know how to deal with, that's really big and it's a new experience, or early stages or early signs of feeling isolated or depressed, don't hesitate. They are there for you to be able to prevent the bigger things from happening. Hopefully this video has been helpful and has given you some things to think about, either before you start homesteading, or if you're homesteading already, how to maybe improve and handle your future mental health.